Yeah, so you walk across and
Would you please be upstanding for the Speaker of the London Borough of Hackney, Councillor Michael Desmond.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our AGM. Sit down, please. Oh, this chair is a bit far away. Thank you very much. Welcome to those here and in the committee rooms. This is the first time since 2019 we've been able to have so many present. I welcome you all. Special welcome to Stephen Howlett, CBEDL, Representative Deputy Lieutenant for the London Borough of Hackney, and Lauren Tobias from the Volunteer Centre Hackney, who had the freedom of the borough conferred upon him last year. The meeting is being live streamed, not on TikTok, I don't think, but anyway. So I'd like to welcome all of those who are watching at home. Before we begin the proceedings, there's a few formal housekeeping announcements. Please turn off your mobile phones or keep them to silent. There are no planned fire alarms. In the event of an alarm sounding, it's real, we have to leave. So remain seated and you'll be escorted to the nearest exit. Prayer rooms are available on the ground floor in rooms 63 and 58. Now, I've got a few announcements which I'm going to go through briefly, but my briefly isn't always as briefly as some people would want. But let's go through them because they're important. Firstly, I'm particularly pleased to welcome newly elected members. And I can confirm I haven't received an email from Donald Trump challenging the result. As councillors, we're elected by the community and work on their behalf. Depending on our allegiance, we may have political opponents, but we do not have political enemies. It's important all members, old and new, conduct themselves with dignity and respect at meetings, avoiding abuse or unsavoury comments. I'd like to pay tribute to those councillors who stood down and thank them for their years of public service and offer commiserations to two sitting councillors, Peter Snell and Anna Joy Rickard, who were not elected. Thank you for the good work you did and may well do in the future. I'd also like to thank the returning officer and staff who conducted the election fairly and efficiently and deserve plaudits for that. Since the last meeting, very sadly, there have been two highly regarded councillors who passed away. Vu Can Tu travelled from Vietnam to the UK in 1979 as one of the boat people. He set up An Viet Foundation, which provided support to refugees and ran a wonderful restaurant in de Beauvoir. Brian Marsh was a leading figure in Islington and Shoreditch Housing Association and the Shoreditch Trust. Both were distinguished members of the council, and we offer their families and friends our heartfelt condolences. I was also extremely sad to learn of the death of a runner who participated in the Hackney Half on Sunday, and offer condolences to his family. In recent weeks, I visited 3 MI Battalion, which is an integral part of the military intelligence, and they're based in Hackney, the Medina Mosque in Leabridge Roundabout, Shonfield Square, and Mossbourne Academy at Hackney Downs. We've also, and our Deputy Lieutenant was there, unveiled a plaque to commemorate Operation Mincemeat, a fascinating historical event which saved many lives during World War II, and it was based around the Hackney mortuary, would you believe, inspired by Lieutenant Commander Ewan Montague And would you believe Ian Fleming of James Bond fame played a small role? A few months ago, I visited Kids Mania, a fantastic children's centre, currently under threat from its freeholders. We must do everything possible to help and support them. I also escorted the Mayor of Islington on a trip to the two charities I'm supporting, St Joseph's Hospice and the Hackney Empire, and there's still time to donate. He expressed a wish to become a trustee of St Joseph's in the future. I was very grateful he didn't reciprocate by offering me a visit to the Emirates Stadium. It's hardly a match for our own Hackney Marshes. I'd like to thank the pupils from Urswick School for creating some excellent paintings for peace, which were sent to the International Secretary of Moscow City Council and the Mayor of Kiev. We also arranged a special painting competition for the Queen's Platinum Jubilee and have just announced the winners. I'm sure Tracy Emin will be very impressed if she actually sees them. This is a formal meeting at which a new Speaker and Deputy Speaker are elected. As you know, it will be followed by a reception where members and guests will be able to mix, mingle, associate and fraternise, something that seems to have happened rather often during lockdown at another well-known public building. I'd like to thank Jane Ware, our Executive Officer, and her daughter Tiffany for taking part in the 5K last weekend, supporting my charities, and Mayor Glanville, Councillor Kennedy, Ian Williams, Rob Miller, and some others who participated. Finally, I'd like to thank all of you for attending this important civic event. Hackney Council is generally admired, often looked up to, sometimes copied by other local authorities, and we have members from our council in important positions on London councils, the Local Government Association, London Mayors Association, and some former councillors such as Ferriel Clark and Chris Bryant are in Parliament exporting expertise and knowledge from their time on Hackney Council. There was a famous film, From Here to Eternity. We can justly say, once you've been on this council, the sky's the limit. Good line to end on. Right. Councillor Stein, thank you. I'll be saying a few words, well, only a few words in my valedictory speech later. Councillor Steinberger.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Hope you can hear me. We also had former Councillor Stephen Lipschitz pass away. Probably you're only one of them that will remember him because he was a councillor in your times. He was my local councillor and he was a very special man. I remember he used to sit in the chambers, actually he was sitting down there, and he used to always have a little book with him and he never liked to waste any time. Whenever things were going on, he would always be looking in his book and looking up stuff. So I just wanted to pay condolence to his family and obviously to the other two councillors who passed away. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Councillor Stein, and of course our condolences to his family as well. Item 2, election of the Speaker for the municipal year 2022 to 2023. I'm now able to invite nominations for the position of Speaker. Are there any nominations? Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's lovely to be back in the chamber and standing up and have so many guests here tonight. I'm very pleased to nominate Councillor Himera Garcia to the role of Speaker for municipal year 2022-23. When Councillor Garcia stood for Hackney's Youth Parliament in 2014, she declared, "We are young, we are the future, we are the coming leaders." Tonight at 25, she has surely arrived. After a difficult year, you have earned it and you deserve it. Back in 2016, when I first met you, I was instantly impressed with your endless kindness, energy and passion for Hackney and everything that you do. During the time I was running for mayor, you were a huge support, tower of strength, and it came to me no surprise that you would stand for council in 2018 and you won at 21. Councillor Garcia has supported the outgoing Speaker as Deputy over this term and has done a fantastic job, representing him and the borough wherever and whenever required. Born and raised in Hackney, along with the rest of her siblings, Councillor Garcia attended local schools and colleges. She is passionate about young people, children, equality and social justice. Since Councillor Garcia's election as councillor in Haggerston, she's helped many residents with problems and issues ranging from council repairs to housing needs. And don't forget, you are now the senior councillor in your ward. You have always been present in the community, especially during a time of crisis, and a need to come together, especially around hate crime, combating Islamophobia and the Christchurch attacks. Those thoughts of solidarity and the need to come together, I think, will be in our minds as we look at what's happened in Texas today. You've also always been proud of your Muslim faith. You've shared it with others, welcoming us in, not just to your community as a proud young leader, but also many of us have been to your home because of the endless generosity of your family, and especially your mum and dad who are here tonight. And I know you're going to talk about their contribution to your life later. Councillor Garcia continues to campaign against government cuts, all of the things that we've been doing around youth services. And I know that you're passionate about anti-racism and ensuring that all young people in Hackney realise their potential. While there may be less time for overt politics in your civic role as Speaker, I know you won't let your commitment to social justice falter, and it is reflected in your chosen charities, St Mary's Secret Garden in Haggerston and the others you continue to explore collaborating with. If elected, I know that Councillor Garcia is ambitious about what she wants to achieve for Hackney and the local causes during her speakership. I am particularly proud to nominate this evening not only Hackney's youngest ever speaker, but also someone who can inspire others to succeed and follow in her footsteps. She is a friend, a comrade, a proud hijabi-wearing woman, and every bit the face of modern and confident Hackney. I'm confident you'll be a fantastic speaker and delighted to nominate you to the role.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Is there a seconder?
There is.
Councillor Rathbone.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Such a joy. It's such a pleasure to propose you, Councillor Garcia, as a Speaker. I've mentored you for several years and seen you flourish and blossom in the Labour Party and in the Council, growing into a very able politician. And there's many more years yet to achieve greater things. I echo all that the Mayor has said, and it shows that the Labour Party here cares about young people, that we do our best to mentor them and help them achieve their promise, both through the Council and through the party. We from this side will support you in whatever way we can in your exciting plans for the civic year. I hope that other parties will also follow suit. I fully commend Councillor Garcia and look forward to an exciting and fruitful civic year. Thank you.
Would any other members wish to say anything in support of the nomination? Councillor Woodley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Like so many others in this room today, I'm incredibly proud to know Councillor Garcia, but what some of you may not realise is how grateful I am to her too. In every communication I've had with this young politician, her first words are always, "How are you?" And do you know what? I'm not always okay. The life of a councillor is full of challenge. We bring optimism and a desire for problem solving, but we're often met with stretched resources. This young councillor helps me to hold steady. Her care and compassion is always uplifting. She sees you, and what a gift that is, to look at someone and really see them. As our new speaker, she will be an amazing spokeswoman. I've seen people previously gathered in this room rise to their feet across party lines in response to her ability to put lived experience into words. It is her care and her compassion that makes her so great at speaking for us all. And I know the people that she listens to and cares for the most are her wonderful family, and they will be so proud of her right now, as are all of we.
Councillor Samatar, did you want to say anything?
As I get through to it, it's an absolute honour to be here and to have my first thing I say on this chamber be a support to someone that I greatly admire, greatly respect, and I'm so incredibly proud of. I'm going to try my best to be professional and not blubber, but honestly, in a time we live in a society where the hijab has become a crime, in a time when many young girls have to choose between their faith or their education or to be a member of their society, and a time especially when women are still fighting for basic human rights, to have not just a young speaker, a hijab-wearing speaker, but a female speaker is an absolute honor for us all. And I'm so, so proud to nominate you. Other than my absolute adoration of you, your professional capacity and everything that you have done since serving 2018, being a representative of the young people, being a voice for communities during the global pandemic and the work that you have done, being a passionate campaigner against Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, and so many things that seeks to divide our communities. You've been a voice for a lot of people, but often the most quiet voice in the room that people forget your worth and your abilities. But tonight, every single person here, especially your Labour family, can collectively say that you are a powerhouse of a speaker, and we are so proud of you. And very finally, just to say that you're going to have an incredible year, and you've had an incredible mentor. And on a personal note, thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the advice and guidance that you have given myself and new candidates as we've entered this. But Humaira, congratulations for everything that you have done, and I'm so proud to nominate you. So I'll leave you all with final words that Humaira herself has said, that she wants to make Britain and the world a better place. And she says, together, we can be the change that we want to see. And I know that you'll be an incredible symbol of that.
Thank you. That was very succinct and lucid. Are there any other nominations? Can we agree on the nomination of Councillor Humaira Garcia to the office of Speaker for 2022-23? I declare that Councillor Garcia has been elected Speaker for the municipal year 2022-23. We now come to the exchange of the Speaker's chain, so there will be a short pause in proceedings. Thank you.
Would you please be upstanding for the Speaker of the London Borough of Hackney, Councillor Humaira Garcia. Would you please be upstanding for the Speaker of the London Borough of Hackney, Councillor Humera Garcia?
May I please ask the incoming Speaker, Councillor Garcia, to raise her right hand and read out the words of the Declaration of Acceptance of Office.
I, Councillor Humera Garcia, having been elected to the office of Speaker of the London Borough of Hackney, hereby declare that I take the said office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties according to the best of my judgment and ability. Before we proceed, I would like to advise Council that my consort for the municipal year 2022-23 will be Najma Garcia, who is seated to my right. May I invite Mayor Glanville to give the vote of thanks to the outgoing Speaker, please?
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and it feels really good to say that this evening. It gives me great pleasure to propose a vote of thanks to our Speaker for the past year, former Speaker Michael Desmond. It has been an incredible year where you've built on the work that Councillor Adams did to rebuild the civic role out in our communities during a time of COVID, navigating the challenges of local elections, and congratulations, Councillor Desmond, on your success. You are joining an illustrious club with only Councillor Patrick as the two colleagues that have served in this vital civic role twice. But this was never just a second go around, and you were never just a safe pair of hands, but a passionate, warm and ambitious Speaker who took on serious issues, fundraising and fun in equal measure. In the risk of stealing, no doubt, your own speech, I just want to highlight some of your successes. You've held over 12 charity events and raised over £21,000 for your chosen charities, the Hackney Empire and St Joseph's Hospice, two amazing Hackney icons who are represented in the room. You've had imaginative events from snooker tournaments to football tournaments. You organised the London to Brighton cycle ride, which sadly I never took part in the end. Two very successful dinners. I played a bigger part in those, it would be fair to say. And you hosted on Forces Day, Remembrance Sunday, and took part in our Holocaust Memorial work this year. You also highlighted in your own words at the start the Operation Mincemeat Memorial, but I'd also like to highlight the anti-knife crime work, your passion for twinning, and your internationalism. A few years ago, you may not know that Councillor Desmond visited Kiev, and he stood in Maiden Square at a great time of hope. How far that hope seems from us now. In the shadow of the unprovoked and unjustified Russian invasion, the Speaker used his civic office in his response, from paintings for peace by the students of Erzwick School to the reception that you held to promote unity and solidarity with the people of Ukraine. Every step of the way, you've stood for internationalism and peace. And I thank the work that you did with Jane to take on the baton of ribbon making and creating inspirational acts across the borough in our primary schools. At the beginning of the year as Speaker, you said you wanted to be a speaker for diversity, and you've certainly achieved that ambition, Councillor Desmond. You hosted receptions promoting our connections between the Council and various community organisations, including Stonewall's Rainbow Laces campaign, the Association of Jewish Ex-Servicemen and Women, and you've always been a strong advocate for sport and women's place in sport with Hackney Women's Football Team. Your commitment to equality of sport and internationalism, I think, goes wherever you are, and you're often ahead of me, as we saw with the Mayor's Civic Awards and Impact Sports. You've made over 100 appearances at various council and community events, always bringing people together, being visible, and I can't think of an occasion you've missed. And I've especially enjoyed watching you go back to your old haunts and school visits in these last couple of days. You've taken part in tree planting, and of course, you have been conducting council business in this chamber and making that transition from virtual to in-person meetings so effectively. I think you'd agree it's been good to have you back. You've been astute, you've decided whether or not to take council advice, and you've always ensured that this space in this chamber is available for debate and the vital issues of the day. I'm not going to match your good humour or your jokes, because I'm sure we await more in the future. I noticed that you posted a quote from House of Cards today saying all good things must come to an end. I hope there is no Francis Urquhart in this room stalking these halls, and I'd like to give everyone in the chamber an assurance that the roof is firmly locked above us this evening. Councillor Desmond, thank you for everything you've done. I look forward to continuing to work with you, and thank you for your municipal year.
I would now like to invite the group leader of the opposition for the previous municipal year to say a few words. Councillor Steinberger.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'll have to get used to Madam Speaker. It's the first time since I've been a councillor where I don't really have to even prepare myself or start thinking or anything what to say. There is so much to say about you, Michael, the way you conducted the meeting the last year. I was speaking to my colleagues, including the previous Councillor Odds, and he said he would have come just to take part in thanking the way you ran the meeting over the year. I remember when you were Speaker last time, and obviously you got another bite of the cherry, like to say, and you took a good bite because you done it very well. So I just wanted to say that I remember you at the count, you were telling me we don't agree on everything, but one of the things we definitely agree is on we're both Yid Army. And part of the reason why I decided to wear it today is just that we can enjoy and toast it together. And I just think, you know, I take sometimes my humor from you, the way you bring in jokes and serious stuff together. So I really thank you for the way you run this council. You did mention, again, there are things which we obviously disagree, like you were busy mentioning Donald Trump. Donald Trump is one of my men. So we obviously disagree on that. And I just wanted to, again, I'm sure you're going to go in better, you know, obviously have higher jobs, and you've done a great job. You've done Hackney proud, and I say this from the Conservative part. And I just thank you again, because I felt this was the first year where we had debates, proper debates. And that's what we're here for, to debate stuff, not just to sit down and I have to be quiet the whole time. I think actually tonight, because you made that the traffic light stopped working, so it's not even on today. So it's something which you've achieved as a speaker, because I remember the minute it was like a magnet. The minute I started speaking, that light always started working. But now it looks like the light is non-existent. Michael, thank you very much. And I congratulate you, Madam Speaker. Obviously, we as being the opposition, we never support a speaker officially. I look forward to working with you, and I'm sure that, you know, we'll have another good year. So congratulations for that. And again, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kleinberger. Would any other members across the chamber would like to say a few words? Yeah. Would any other members across the chamber like to say a few words? No? No? That's fine. So can we agree on a vote of thanks? Yeah. We now come to a presentation to Councillor Michael Desmond as the outgoing speaker.
Wow. Thank you very much indeed. And this is Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I would now like to ask Councillor Michael Desmond to respond to the vote of thanks.
Deputy Lieutenant, Madam Speaker, Mr. Mayor, honoured guests, and I think we've got Kew Gardens here as well. Thank you for that. This has been a challenging time, but I think we've made the best of it, and we have to thank both the council officers, the council members, and in my office we have to thank Jane for the excellent work she's done, and her daughter, who also assisted very significantly. I'd like to thank my sister, Joy, who helped, Marianne Wapnin, Lakshmi Ghosh, and Alina here, who's my guest from Ukraine. I met Alina over 10 years ago, and she did translation for me in Kharkov. And when the bombs started landing, it was intolerable to leave her there. And you know, the system we run in Hackney has worked very smooth. We had an officer from the council come to my house. I offered her a cup of coffee. She was very modest. She didn't take it, but she was happy with the house and happy with the status of Alina, and that's gone smoothly. But of course, she's still extremely worried about her family there, and it's a terrible tragedy that is ongoing. As the Mayor said, I'm grateful for all those who contributed to my appeal. I'd like to thank Greenwich Leisure and Morgan Sindel, who sponsored the dinner at de Beauvoir, and Union Development, who sponsored the Yum Yums dinner. Nice name for a restaurant, isn't it? Yum Yums. I'd like to thank the Mildmay Club for hosting a successful snooker tournament, although a 14-year-old boy did beat me, on the black, I might admit. And I'd also like to thank David Pearl of Pearl & Coots, who is hoping to establish a scheme for young people at the Hackney Empire. I'd also like to thank 5 Pints Brewery, who supplied free beer, always something beneficial. I played Father Christmas at the Uprising Unity Club, which mainly comprises senior citizens from the Windrush generation. And I spoke at a number of Windrush events and commemorations, and I attended the unveiling of the sculpture, fantastic sculpture, in the Narrowway. But as I think I've mentioned before, my friend from Hackney Downs, Hubert Howard, struggled for decades to be granted citizenship, despite living here for 59 years. Eventually, it was granted 3 weeks before he died of leukemia in Homerton Hospital, with no apology or recompense. And it's a continuing scandal for the Windrush generation that carries on today. COVID obviously affected my term. The crisis has sadly claimed 641 lives so far in the City of London and Hackney area. We were nevertheless, as the Mayor said, able to hold a number of receptions, including probably the most important, the one for Anti-Knife UK, where some of the people who attended were relatives of victims who felt at least some sense of dignity in being able to put their feelings across. And campaigners spoke, and we had the cabinet member responsible speaking, and one of our MPs as well. It's critical that families of victims are listened to and action taken. Too many young lives have been lost. As you heard, I held a Rainbow Laces reception jointly with Stonewall. Hackney Women played a charity match for me, and we had a reception for the Association of Jewish Ex-Servicemen, who used to be based in Stamford Hill. Young people attended a Democracy Day reception and expressed their views. I asked them what they watched on television, and they said they didn't watch television. So it shows how out of touch I am. We also had an annual Have Your Say event at B6 College. We have to bear in mind the experiences of young people in these unusual and challenging times must be taken on board, and we need, if possible, to have more interaction with the Youth Parliament. A couple of weeks ago, I presented certificates at the Jack Petchey Speak Out Regional Finals. That's a mouthful, isn't it? At the Mossbourne Academy. Speakers were extremely articulate, challenging, and word perfect. They made vibrant contributions on critical issues like racism, the appalling treatment of child Q, the role of money in society, and perhaps most contentious of all, whether you put jam or cream on a scone. The jury is still out on that one. There appears to be some regional variation. Fortunately, the issue of whether you call it a scone or a scone didn't arise. They're obviously very adroit at avoiding controversies. During the past municipal term, I was on the Pensions Committee, which has made excellent progress divesting from fossil fuels and in fact exceeded our commitment. We've also invested wisely and covered more than 100% of our anticipated liabilities. I'm leaving that committee in the safe hands of our distinguished colleagues, Councillor Adams and Councillor Chapman. And moving on to planning, which is another hot potato. It's essential all residents feel we listen to them, and when they attend meetings, they feel welcome, as they do in Drews. Normally the chamber is as packed as it is today. We need to provide them with clear information on process and procedure, and where appropriate, ensure they have an opportunity to speak. There are enormous development pressures on the borough, but we must ensure there is adequate social housing and also protect our heritage. One of the things I'll be particularly looking at on the planning committee is fire safety. It's almost 5 years since the Grenfell Tower tragedy arose. A report from the GLA in 2010 on timber frame and high-rise building did not even mention cladding. We know there's a huge problem with cladding, but we need to look at timber frame as well. And we must look at sites that have inadequate supervision of subcontractors. I was delighted to visit Hackney Archives a couple of months ago and actually left them some information about my family, not about myself, but about my family and their history in Hackney. Very sadly, I discovered quite recently that my great-great-grandmother, Anne Desmond, who died in Shoreditch in 1890, aged 66, which is my age actually, sadly, she died in the workhouse in Shoreditch. Now, she may have been there for medical attention because they did have limited facilities, but it was nothing like the NHS. The other side of my family came from Poland and settled in classic mansions in Wells Street. My grandmother ran a delicatessen in Bethnal Green Road, and my grandfather was a tailor, which may explain my sartorial elegance. I took an ancestry DNA test a while ago, and you won't believe it came out 100% Hackney. Actually, to be fair, it was 99% Hackney, 1% Tottenham Hotspur, but there we are. A number of senior officers have left during the year, particularly Tim Shields, our Chief Executive, and most recently, John Wheatley, who did such a fantastic job keeping the borough clean. Mark Carroll has made an excellent start as our new Chief Executive, and I'd like to thank him personally for all the help and support he's given. We can't ignore the huge difficulties people are experiencing because of COVID, the huge hike in energy prices, price of food. We have to also try and sort out the problems arising from the cyber attack, which caused so much inconvenience, and also look at the high level of accidents on the road here, around 286 per 100,000 people. We do need to look into that. Perhaps one of the scrutiny commissions can. People must feel safe in Hackney. Hackney is a dense urban area. People are always in a hurry. A friend of mine used to remark, better to arrive late in this life than early in the next. And talking of friends, just as I conclude, my friend Councillor Humera Garcia is our new speaker, and I'm so proud of her, and she'll be a wonderful speaker. And you'll shortly find out who her deputy will be, so I won't comment on her, but she'll also be wonderful. Politics is the art of the possible, sometimes the impossible. We have to strive to work in harmony with residents and prioritise the needs of the vulnerable, tackle global warming, and continue to provide high-quality services. Things are very uncertain internationally and nationally at the moment, but to quote a combination of Clive Dunn as Corporal Jones and Dennis Norden, don't panic, it will be all right on the night, because I am sure, at least here tonight, it will be. Thank you. I think we now move to... We'll wait to speak it up. We now go to... Okay.
Thank you. We will now move to agenda item 4. I now invite nomination for the position of Deputy Speaker for the municipal year 2022-2023. Are there any nominations?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would like to nominate Councillor Sizer. Councillor Sizer has been a councillor in Hoxton West East with her colleagues Councillor Adams and Councillor Race, and she has really embedded and embraced that role with a lightness in her spirit and a real dedication to the work that she's doing. She has been a lifelong Londoner, and I think has lived in Hackney for about just 15 years now, or just under, raising her 3 children. So a true dedicated local resident. She is really passionate about diversity in politics, Madam Speaker, and has done so much work to encourage other women in politics. She is dynamic and she is a really nice person, but beyond being nice, she's dynamic and fights for social justice and has done lots of work around advocating around adoption and fertility, and has lobbied government to ensure that more people have better access to treatment, and that has been at the core of her being. She's been a member of the Children and Young People Scrutiny, and on that board, and I must say, Madam Speaker, and you have sat on there as well, it is a challenging and very rigorous and robust board, and so it should be. And Councillor Sizer is no different to that of her members, and is a real critical friend in that space. But as well as being a critical friend, ensures that actually the passion for our children and young people and the aspiration is at the core of everything that she questions and contributes to that board. She now heads up a workplace. That's a charity that deals in facility, and they spend a lot of time doing work with lots of organisations, doing training and raising awareness. So I'm sure some of you may want to speak to her about that over dinner. She also champions 2 charities, and one is Say Goodbye, which supports people that have lost children, Madam Speaker, and also Home for Good, and an organisation that helps support people that have adopted children, and a fostering charity. What I would say, Madam Speaker, is that Councillor Sizer is really nice, and we kind of take that for granted, because what I'm struck by, Madam Speaker, is that kindness, thoughtfulness, integrity, just sheer love and compassion is free, but we live in a society that people almost share it as if it's going to make them bankrupt sometimes. But not Councillor Sizer. It is in abundance in how she carries herself, how she approaches her colleagues, and certainly how she approaches the work in the community. Not only will she be a fantastic Deputy Speaker, I believe that she will be the support, the confidence, and the ally going forward as you, Madam Speaker, do your best as Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Bramble. Is there a seconder? Yep, Councillor Race.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and it's a delight to see you in your place. I've had the honour of serving alongside Councillor Sizer, the honour and the pleasure of serving alongside Councillor Sizer in support of the residents of Hoxton East and Shoreditch for the last year since her election in the by-election of 2021. In that 1 year, Councillor Sizer has contributed immeasurably to both the ward, residents, organisations in the ward, and the work of this council too. Her work ethic and her roles outside of the council, including her work with Compassion in Politics, mean that I am absolutely sure she will make an excellent Deputy Speaker for all of Hackney, and a support to you as well, Madam Speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Race. Do any other members wish to say anything in support of the nomination? No? Are there any other nominations? Can we agree on the nomination of Councillor Sizer to the office of Deputy Speaker for 2022-2023?
Agree.
I declare that Councillor Sizer has been elected Deputy Speaker for the municipal year 2022-2023. I would now like to invite Councillor Desmond and his consort to make way for Deputy Speaker Sizer and her consort. There will be a brief pause in the proceeding whilst Deputy Speaker is robed. Thank you.
Could you please retake your seats, please? Could you...
May I please ask the incoming Deputy Speaker, Councillor Sizer, to raise her right hand and read the words of the Declaration of Acceptance of Office.
I, Councillor Anya Sizer, having been elected to the office of Deputy Speaker of the London Borough of Hackney, hereby declare that I take the said office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties according to the best of my judgment and ability.
I would now like to invite the Deputy Speaker to say a few words and announce the name of her consort.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Good evening to you all, and many thanks for joining us all today, either in person or online. I'd like to start by saying a huge thank you to Councillor Desmond for the wonderful work he has done over the past year, and to congratulate our new Speaker, who I am sure will be exactly the right woman for the role. I am truly grateful to be given this opportunity, and especially the chance to support Councillor Garcia in performing her civic duties. As a lifelong North Londoner, I am so proud of the diversity we see every day in the borough. As someone from an Irish and Jewish family, as someone who's faced many challenges in life, I know the importance of a place we can call home and that welcomes us all. Hackney is that place, and it is a great honour to now be able to represent its people over this next term. I am so pleased to introduce my consort, Bernadette Bramble, who is with me, and I will be turning to on numerous occasions for strength and advice. I look forward to getting to know many of Hackney's groups, communities, and will serve this wonderful borough to the best of my abilities. Thank you.
Council has before it a report on the results of the mayoral and council elections, which took place on May the 5th, 2022. Can I please ask Council to note the results as set out in Appendix 1 to the report? Yeah? Brilliant. Thank you. Apologies for absence or lateness have been received from. Apologies of absence have received from Councillor Narcross, Councillor Ross, and Councillor Williams. Apologies for lateness have been received from Councillor Osson. Are there any other apologies? Councillor Lufkin? And, oh, sorry. Sorry, Councillor Joseph? Councillor Jan, okay, I have him down for lateness. Okay, apologies. All right, brilliant. Thank you. Are there any other apologies? No, thank you. Are there any declarations of interest? No? Brilliant. Are the minutes of the meeting of the Council held on 2nd March 2022 agreed as true and accurate record of proceedings? Okay. So now I'm going to give my speech. Yeah, just a bit of water. Good evening, Mayor Glanville, MPs, councillors, family, friends, Freeman of the Borough, Deputy Lieutenant Mr. Stephen Howlett, and distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I am so honoured and humbled to have been chosen by my colleagues to serve the London Borough of Hackney in the role of Speaker for this municipal year. I am grateful to Mayor Glanville for nominating me and for his kind words, and Councillor Rathbone for seconding me, and to my colleagues for the lovely words. Alhamdulillah, today evening, I have become the first hijabi speaker of the London Borough of Hackney, and the youngest at the age of 25. This is a reflection of what this borough stands for, and the truly inclusive and representative borough that we are. My hijab is a symbol of strength, empowerment, and peace. We all belong regardless of our background. I want to thank the outgoing speaker, Councillor Desmond, who has been a great mentor. He has been a committed and hardworking speaker over the past year and has risen to the challenge of speakership with many great jokes to share. I have always found Councillor Desmond to be a hub of knowledge and genuine advice. There is so much to Hackney, and with each event and meeting I attended as a deputy speaker, I truly got to admire and appreciate the borough that we are, and how Hackney is a great place to stay, work, and visit. The people of Hackney make up the beauty of this borough, but what we have achieved and how we have progressed would not have been possible without the leadership of Mayor Glanville, the hardworking members of Cabinet, and all the councillors who represent the wards respectively cross-party. Many years ago, in this very building, my parents gained their citizenship. And today in this building, this daughter of immigrants has become a speaker and will have the honour of presiding over citizenship ceremonies and welcoming residents, just as Hackney did for my parents. This brings me on to expressing gratitude and appreciation to my parents. Let's pause. To my parents, Rafiq and Najma Garasia, I am grateful to you both for the journey you made as immigrants. The hard work and sacrifices that you both have made for better opportunities and for a better life for your family. You have both inspired me and influenced me to be the person I am today. I'm really grateful for it. More so, I'm so glad that they chose Hackney as the home. As is the people of Hackney that have welcomed them and allowed this borough to become a home for them and for my siblings and I. Hackney is my home that has allowed me to flourish as a young ethnic minority Muslim woman. I'm a very proud Hackney girl and a very proud daughter of immigrants. I would like to thank my family, in particular my dad, who has been so patient and supportive of me and my mum in my previous year as a deputy speaker, and my friends for the constant support and encouragement. They know who they are. I want to thank the council officers who work behind the scenes with some of the officers present here today. This AGM and council services would not be possible without them. I think they deserve a round of applause. Lastly, I thank my wonderful Hackney Labour group, who have welcomed me from the start of my first day and have been so supportive, for truly believing in representation and in the voice of this young councillor. I have made it through to my second term as a councillor because Labour Group have been a beacon to me, a family full of inspirational individuals and role models, especially all those amazing women. Now, I would like to introduce my consort. She has been my strength and my biggest supporter. She motivates me to be a better person every day and has taught me to love and welcome everyone and anyone regardless of their background. I reckon if my colleagues had a chance, they'll swap me for her and her cooking. My consort is my mother, Najma Garasia, who is supporting me in my role for this municipal year. I would like to congratulate our Deputy Speaker, Councillor Anya Fizer. She's been an excellent councillor and would be a brilliant civic representative, along with a fabulous consort. It is customary for the Speaker to nominate at least one charity to support. I am delighted to announce that I'll be supporting St. Mary's Secret Garden. St. Mary's Secret Garden is an open access garden in Hackney that has been providing community access and cultural therapy to people who are socially excluded or disadvantaged for over 25 years. They provide cultural therapy for people who have disabilities, those experience mental health issues, and older residents with long-term health needs. I look forward to fundraising for St. Mary's Secret Garden with your support and generosity, working with you all over this course of the year to make sure that Hackney continues to be a beacon for the celebration of tolerance and diversity in our city. Thank you. Agenda item 10. Council has before it a report circulated in the supplementary agenda on the establishment and composition of the Council Committee, etc. Will Council agree the following recommendations as set out? Brilliant, thank you. Agenda item 11. Can I see as set out? Yeah. As set out. Yeah. So Council has before it a report on appointments and nominations to outside bodies. Will members agree the appointments and nominations to outside bodies on behalf of the Council as listed in Appendix 1, circulated in the supplementary agenda? We agree. Brilliant. We now move on to agenda item 12, which is the elected mayor's statement. I invite Mayor Glanville to make his statement. You have no more than 10 minutes.
Yeah, we'll give it a go, Madam Speaker. As I know that I'm the only person that's probably between all of us and dinner. Congratulations again, Madam Speaker. I really do look forward to working with you over the next year. I'd also like to welcome all of the guests, including council officers, community leaders, activists, faith leaders, partners in all senses of the word, both statutory and non, Mayor Civic Award winners, and obviously our Deputy Lieutenant. It's a new term with new faces, and we said goodbye to a number of colleagues at full council in March. I really do welcome all 15 new members to the Chamber this evening. Serving the people of our borough is an honour and a privilege. It certainly isn't easy, but is incredibly rewarding. I wish all of them from every party and every part of the borough the very best for their first term as a member of this council, and I look forward to their contributions in the Chamber. Like others this evening, I'd like to pay tribute to all of those involved in the elections where they won or lost, and council officers that made them go so well. It would be remiss of me, though, if I didn't pay tribute to the two councillors who were not elected and were unsuccessful on polling day from the Labour Party. Former councillors Pete Snell and Anna Joy Ricard made a huge contribution to the Labour Party, our council and the borough, both joining the council in 2014. For Pete, it was a return to the council. He was a relentless campaigner for Ridley Road Market, the shopping village, which led to the council taking action, investing in one and saving the other. He was involved in almost every community campaign, knowing traders, tenants activists and business equally in Dalston. Always clear and committed to the things that made Dalston special, and a very tough act to follow, and he'll be greatly missed. On the council, he was also a great heritage champion and member of licensing committee. Anna Joy's hard work saw Hackney Downs roads transformed into people-friendly streets, investment in Hackney Downs Park, and like her colleagues who are assiduous with casework and real champions for Nightingale, and I hope that one of her legacies will be delivery of new council housing there. She was active across the council and a committed chair and member of scrutiny. I hope that her recent success as part of the Mother Red programme, where she was one of 18 women who secured funding to get more mothers into Parliament, we'll see more. Through that, we will see more of her soon. Both will be deeply missed at the council as colleagues and friends, and I also pay tribute to Harvey Odds, who wasn't successful, sadly, in Barnet. Despite this loss, though, I'm excited to be working with a refreshed Labour group that is 57% women and at least 41% Black or global majority, with Labour, Orthodox Jewish, Bolivian, Somali and Iraqi representation. Mr. Speaker, I think that is worthy of a clap. That adds only to our diversity and strength. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, I echo former Mr. Speaker's tributes to Than Vu, who I recognised at Cabinet last month. And I just want to touch on the sad death of Brian Marsh. He was a former Hackney councillor who represented Dalston and North Defoe ward in Stoke Newington. I knew him, though, as a resident of what was Hoxton. He was always passionate about housing. He served on the Hackney Homes Board. He regularly raised issues around disabled access, especially for the blind and partially sighted. He was a champion of twinning and also a deputy mayor. He was a stalwart party member, especially when I started my time on the council, and there was not a time where he didn't ask after my dad, who chaired a polling station with in 2006. I'm sure all of us would want to pass our condolences to his family. I would like to also mention the sudden death of Steve Douglas, the former CEO of St Mungo's. Before St Mungo's, Steve was an interim director here at Hackney Council as Corporate Director of Neighbourhoods and Regeneration from 2009 to the Olympic Games in 2012. I remember him as someone that really helped to start that journey into building new council homes, and I think that's what I remember him most. But across London, Hackney and the sector, I know he will be greatly missed. Also, Councillor Desmond recognised a very sad loss of the runner who took part in the Hackney Half on Sunday. I've extended my condolences, and I hope that the whole council chamber will do as well. Madam Speaker, less than a month ago, the people of Hackney re-elected me alongside council colleagues to work together for a better Hackney. I'm grateful for the trust that they put in us to deliver on our promises and to be on their side. Whether it's in our communities, this chamber, the town hall, in City Hall, Parliament, or indeed on the streets, we will stand up for the people of Hackney and the values that make our borough such a special place. In the weeks and days since the election, we've hit the ground running, Madam Speaker. From Europe Day, where we showed our solidarity with Ukraine and our 27 European cousins that we sadly left due to Brexit. On the cost of living, we have got £5.6 million of our tax rebate out to nearly 38,000 families. We've invested nearly £2 million in extra support for low-income households. That gives £30 of extra support to those in band E and H, and also increases the level of support for all of those on the council tax reduction scheme. I think all of us on this chamber will keep holding the government to account to do more on the cost of living crisis, and indeed, in the weeks and months ahead, so will this council. I'd like to thank the work that Councillor Mackenzie has led on closing that repairs backlog. I know every single person out there in our communities during the election will have had stories about repairs undone. But we've closed 70% of that repairs backlog, and we commit to resolving all of the outstanding repairs by the end of July. Once that backlog is tackled, though, Madam Speaker, we will not take the eye off the ball. We'll make sure every council tenant lives in a safe, warm and decent home. For too many, though, that decent home is still a waiting list away. So I was really pleased to go back to Hoxton and see the work starting on 44 new council social rented homes there, as well as 25 for shared ownership. They are not included in the 1,000 more we will start this administration because they were already planned, but we will build those homes and ensure that local people get access to them. But that isn't just the only part of homelessness. We know that those leaving the streets and rough sleepers are also at risk. So I was particularly proud to join Councillor Etty at a Peabody Partnership Lowry House that ensures that if you go into a hospital in Hackney, you will not go back out onto the street. And one flat there is ring fenced for those with no recourse to public funds. We also announced our Dockless Line bike scheme, and I look forward to that going live in June. This week is our Festival of Learning, a week-long celebration of lifelong learning. We know for so many in Hackney that don't succeed in our schools or move here from elsewhere, that ESOL and adult learning is crucial to them getting on. We've advertised more apprenticeships, and we've reopened all of our Hackney Opportunities hubs in Hoxton, Gascoigne and Woodbury Down. I know Councillor Williams was down there visiting them this week, including our partnership with New City College. One other bit of celebration that I was able to take part on, and I think it fits very neatly, Madam Speaker, with St Mary's Secret Garden, is that Core Arts, a very similar organisation, yesterday was awarded gold at the Chelsea Flower Show. Madam Speaker, I want to talk about anti-racism and hitting the ground running. We held on week one, day one, our council's anti-racism praxis conference. I want to thank every single member of staff, whatever level of the organisation, for their work in organising that conference, and Deputy Mayor Bramble and others. It set out very clearly in a pioneering way what we would do to tackle racism, challenge the culture of our organisation, as well as partners and the borough. Hundreds of council staff took part, with partners from across the UK. They heard from speakers, attended workshops on how we unmask, repair and prevent racial trauma. The 4-day conference set the tone for what we must do, and as I said, we cannot afford to fail. Being anti-racist, ambitious and aspirational, pioneering to open and new approaches and creating the conditions for both our residents and staff to thrive. This evening, activists gathered outside the town hall to mark the 2 years since the death of George Floyd. Many of us joined them and took the knee. It's an important act of solidarity, and it's something that I was also proud to do in Parliament Square 2 years ago. Tonight, Madam Speaker, my speech is timed to 10 minutes, 31 seconds longer than it took to murder George Floyd in front of our eyes. That is why we stand in solidarity with his family, the activists outside the town hall, and all those that face racism and injustice around the world. Closer to home, though, we always said it reopened wounds that never healed, traumas not heard, and racism not tackled. Since then, we've witnessed the traumatising and racist events of our own Child Q case. These events act as a reminder that progress is not inevitable. We have to fight for it in deeds and words. We will continue that fight, Madam Speaker, with the resources and platforms available
1 minute,
to
Mayor
us.
Glanville.
I also want to pay reference to the Dalston protests, and I've made very clear that I did not support the messy, blundering, inconsiderate operation in Dalston last weekend. On anti-racism and on trust and confidence, the police need to do a lot more to win back our trust and confidence. I will finish, Madam Speaker, so that I do not go over time, with just highlighting and welcoming Ricardo Hyatt to the Chamber. He will be our new Group Director for Climate, Homes and Economy. He's already out there in our communities. He's hungry to hear from us. Please welcome him this evening, but also when he joins us in July. I echo that goodbye to John Wheatley. None of what we do in this chamber would be possible without the trust and confidence of our residents that our streets will be clean. And John's contribution to that and insourcing services over nearly 2 decades is second to none. I finish, Madam Speaker, on the Jubilee. I hope all of us will wish Her Majesty 70 years of loyal service as Queen, but also, most importantly, it's a chance for us to reconnect with each other in this borough through the community events in Springfield Park, the official beacon lighting, and parties and fun days across our borough. I know that Deputy Speaker Sizer isn't organising one over the bank holiday weekend, but I can attest that her love of cake is almost as great as her love of this borough, and she will be organising one on the 9th of July. But that just shows the breadth, I think, of all of those celebrations and the chance to come back together after 2 very difficult years. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I now invite the Majority Opposition Group Leader to respond. You have no more than 5 minutes. Councillor Steinberger, please.
Madam Speaker, I've good news for you. I'm not going to spoil the party tonight. It'll be less than 5 minutes. The reason for it is quite simple. Tonight there's a lot of guests here, and I'm sure you're more interested to celebrate rather than to hear me, and I can't blame you. Now, I wanted to first of all congratulate my colleagues for winning and having a swing of nearly 10%. And also, I do want to say a word, first of all, on ex-Councillor Odds, because he was always our contact of point of order. We will be missing something in the council, because I don't think anybody knows the council Bible so well like he does. So I'm sure we may have to call him sometimes in the middle of the council meeting to find out what the point of order is. But we'll try and work our way through that. I wanted to also thank Councillor Rickard for the work she done. She was a very good councillor. And at the same time, I want to congratulate our new Green colleagues here. Sounds very interesting. And interesting in a way that, as a Conservative, I feel more connected in this chamber to the Greens than to Labour, even right now where we stand. That is now. There was one thing which I will. There is one thing which I will say, which I do want to pick up on what the mayor said. You were talking about taking your eye off the ball. I think your eye was never on the ball, to be honest. And I just think there's a lot of work to be done, and I think we should make sure that it does get done, because all these excuses, cyber attack, Brexit, the Omicron, all these excuses have to stop. People are suffering in Hackney, and we have to make sure that things start moving. So I'm finished. The traffic lights can go, and that's it for me.
Thank you, Councillor Steinberger. I now invite the Minority Opposition Group Leader to respond. You have no more than 5 minutes. Sorry, 5 minutes. Councillor Garbutt.
Oh, that's the first time I've done this. Thank you. And firstly, I'd like to add my thanks to the council officers and all the other members for the really warm welcome that we've received since we've arrived to help us hit the ground running. And we really look forward to working with you as a new speaker, evidently an incredible politician. I'm really looking forward to working together. And I'm really honoured to be standing here as an elected Green councillor with Councillor Binny Lubbock. We proudly represent 23% of the borough vote, people who voted Green on the 5th of May. And this vote share, as well as our second placed mayoral election position, reaffirms the Greens as a real official opposition in Hackney. And we're really grateful for the support of all those voters, and are really looking forward to bringing that Green voice into the chamber. It's clear that residents want that democratic opposition, and we haven't lost the appetite to provide this. We will take on this responsibility and provide that much needed scrutiny and challenge of the operation of the council. I really do welcome all the statements that have been made about the progress made in the last year, but I do echo the words of my opposition leaders in saying that there is no time for complacency, and there's loads that we need to be doing this year to represent our residents. It's an incredibly fragile and important time. There's loads that we're facing as a community and as a country. The existential climate and ecological crisis that I'm not sure has been mentioned yet properly this evening is really, it really needs us to take action. We've got the ongoing impact of the pandemic and Brexit, the cost of living crisis, and a crisis of greed and widening inequality. All these things are happening at once, and most impacting those who are already suffering, as well as our young people, and meaning that we as elected representatives have a responsibility to take urgent action now, working with them and respecting them as an equal partner in all that we do. Not just increasing and improving the processes we've got, but respecting them as equal partners in all decisions. Residents don't currently feel listened to. It's what we hear a lot on the doorstep and in the community groups that we're involved in. They say life's getting a lot harder and that the borough's changing in ways that don't include them and they don't recognise. We need to use the power we have to change the things we have the responsibility for and use our influence where we can't, when we're not in direct control. For example, some of the things that already been mentioned about taking new approaches to providing the housing that we need and making sure that repairs are meeting and exceeding those performance targets, building on the work that my Councillor Binny Lubbock colleague has been doing before and after the election. This evening, there's been a number of protests on the steps of the Town Hall. And the Green Party absolutely stands in solidarity with them. There's council staff protesting, there's residents from community groups, there's people who work in our borough who do not feel like things are changing fast enough and that their voice and their lives aren't being respected enough. So we need to bring those voices into the chamber and we need to effect change to improve their lives. And we know that the recent horrendous events of the socially unjust and racist policing, and I did speak to what Mayor Glanville has just said about earning that trust from the community and that trust and confidence piece with the police. The events that happened in Dalston at the weekend, a couple of weekends ago, I was there, I witnessed it, it was horrendous, and it comes from a context. It wasn't a random event, it comes from a very tense time between the community and the police in Dalston. And from community groups feeling really kind of harassed from all angles. So I'm really, really excited to be able to bring that context into the work that we're doing with the police. So as I said before, there's no time for complacency. And as your Green representatives, we will listen to and address people's concerns, as well as share the power that we've got in supporting proper community solutions and resident-led plans. We'll push for more urgent action on the climate and ecological emergency.
1 minute, Councillor Garbutt.
The IPCC report makes clear that we can't delay and that we know that the people of Hackney want this. And we will provide scrutiny and put forward new approaches and solutions to address inequality. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Garbutt. Mayor Glanville, do you wish to reply? If so, you have no more than 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I definitely will not use the full 5 minutes, I'm sure you'll be pleased to know. I just thank you, Councillor Garbutt, and thank you, Councillor Steinberger. I just sort of wanted to add, again, opening remarks, but we have been consistently on the side of supporting the delivery drivers and couriers in Dalston. They're some of the most vulnerable workers. We know that they've got us through the pandemic. They're supporting families and households in this borough and beyond, and they're being exploited by a system that doesn't value them, whether it's some of the restaurants, whether it's the delivery platforms, and indeed some customers that don't value what they do. We do value what they do. We have been working really hard to ensure that we work with restaurants there to make sure toilets are accessible, to make sure that we geofence the area, that we secure it and we keep them safe. And that is why we do not feel that an operation that was designed to combat moped crime was appropriate for Ashwin Street on a warm Saturday night without any of that community context or partnership. And I know vividly from what you've said, but colleagues as well on this side of the chamber, what it was like to be there that night. And I know that Councillor Jana Thomas and I are committed with Councillor Coban and council officers to getting it absolutely right. That also does mean listening to residents about their concerns, but everything that we've tried to do there is to try and co-produce solutions that work for the delivery drivers, work for those supportive businesses, and ultimately work for the community. I think it was Councillor Desmond earlier on that talked about the hostile environment, and I just reiterate that the council does not support the hostile environment. We don't support immigration raids, and we will continue not to do so. I'm not going to do any football jokes because that is impossible for me, although I have succeeded in saving a goal from Gunnosaurus. I've not taken part in anything with Tottenham Hotspur yet, but we are not taking the eye off the ball. The first 3 weeks shows our commitments as an administration to getting stuck in and delivering real change. And I'd just like to outline, Madam Speaker, a couple of areas where before we meet next, in our first 100 days, we will start that work in earnest. We will set up the Affordable Childcare Commission and make sure we look at early years and how we support families through the cost of living crisis. On keeping our streets safe, we are far from complacent. We are going to work with the VRU to assemble an experienced and credible partners to undertake an independent peer review of our integrated gangs work. I hope we can involve the community in that. On our ambitious Green New Deal, £50 million being invested up front. We'll be installing new bike hangers, and as well as our pledge to double installations, we will go even further and faster than the manifesto, and we'll be making that announcement shortly. On Monday, Cabinet has before it a capital update that will see nearly £800,000 invested in community energy and retrofit projects, crucially working with, not to, communities to support them to get to net zero. We will also, before the summer, publish our climate action plan consultation and give that annual update on the climate emergency. We're going to do more around our libraries, bring communities together, and we're starting on a strategic plan that will show exactly how the council will deliver on the 308 Labour manifesto commitments that we were elected to deliver, and how we will do that working in partnership with all of our public sector partners as well as the community. I also know how important scrutiny and being held to account is. That's why I welcome both what Councillor Garbett and Councillor Steinberg have said. I hope both political opposition parties will take part in audit, scrutiny, and all the committees of the council to make sure this is a vivid democratic place. We also know how important protest is beyond the council. That's why the town hall steps are an important place where the community come together to challenge us to do better. I was out there, I support those campaigns. They mean a huge amount to us on this council chamber. I also engaged with the Renters Union, East End Trades Guild, Hackney Citizens, the Cycling Campaign, and many other organisations during the election. And I know that they will also hold us to account to our commitments, and I commit to working with them as every other resident and citizen in the borough.
Thank you, Mayor Glanville. Agenda item 13, the Mayor's scheme of delegation, composition of the Cabinet, establishment and membership of executive committees and or subcommittees, and appointment of mayoral advisors and member champions. I now invite Mayor Glanville to speak on this item.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I will be very brief. A lot of this is just sort of perfunctory. Every year I have to publish my scheme of delegation as Mayor. That is Appendix 1. There are some very small tidying up around parts of the organisation that either do not exist anymore or we do not have to, for statutory reasons, deliver policies in the way that they were set out in the original delegation. One thing I would say, in contrast to many other mayoral authorities in this country, is one of the first things I did on becoming mayor was to distribute my power both to Cabinet and to Council. And that is what you see in the scheme of delegation. I very rarely, if ever, take decisions alone, always with colleagues and comrades, and always in public through Cabinet and full Council and its various committees. And that's what you see set out here, Madam Speaker. In terms of Cabinet appointments, there are no changes to the people that I look forward to working with and delivering on this ambitious programme. There are some changes to portfolios, but I do not think anyone at 8:40 wants to hear about them this evening. I did just want to mention, though, our new member champions. It's in the supplementary document, and just welcome Councillor Turbot Delov as mental health champion, Councillor Suso Rouge as heritage champion, Councillor Palace as inclusive business, social enterprise and cooperatives champion, Councillor Smith as climate justice and fair trade champion, Councillor Ogundmuran as no place for hate champion, and Councillor Ete for interfaith champion. I really do look forward to doing them. They're going to bring an enormous amount of energy to what we do, and welcome them for their roles. Apart from that, Madam Speaker, as set out.
Thank you, Mayor Glanville. Will the Council note the following? The Mayor's scheme of delegation for 2022-2023 as set out in Appendix 1 the composition of cabinet, including appointments to cabinet and the appointment of mayoral advisors for 2022-2023, as set out Appendix 2, the executive committees and names of councillors appointed to be members of such committees, as set out in Appendix 3, the appointment of member champions, as set out in Appendix 4. Thank you. Agenda item 14, calendar of meetings for the municipal year 2022-2023. Council has before it a report on the calendar of meetings for this municipal year. Will Council approve the recommendations as follow? That the addition of a further meeting of full council in each municipal year be approved. That proposed calendar of meetings for 2022-2023 municipal year as set out in Appendix 1 be approved. That the Director of Legal, Democratic and Electoral Services be authorised to make any changes to the calendar as may prove necessary from time to time. Yes, Mayor Granville.
Madam Speaker, I just wanted to really quickly welcome the work that officers have done to introduce another full council meeting to the municipal calendar. It's been important to me that that restoration of democracy, the ability to bring deputations, petitions and questions to the council happens, and to see it here in black and white is absolutely fantastic. More democracy, more accountability, more resident engagement. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Granville. Yeah. Members, a brief meeting of the Corporate Committee is to be convened following the conclusion of this annual meeting. Please can I ask that you all remain in your seats until the meeting of the Corporate Committee is concluded. Thank you for your attendance this evening, and I hope that you will join me for a reception in the Assembly Halls shortly. I now declare this council meeting closed and will hand over to the monitoring officer.